We knew that we could be good on a soft tyre. We knew that for a few precious laps, that would give us a decent performance margin over a very fast McLaren. Did our new front wing perform as expected, or is there more to come from it? Bit early to tell. The new front wing, of course, is designed to make us go faster. That's why we do all our things. But the specific characteristics of this new front wing that we're excited about is it should improve the balance and performance of the car through the slower range of the corners. Now, Silverstone is famous for lots of things, but lots and lots of slow corners is not one of them. So what we took as a comfort from Silverstone is that in the slower parts of the track, we were looking pretty decently competitive. So that's a tick in the box for this new front wing. But I guess it will only be when we get to Hungary, which is a track made up almost entirely of slower stuff, that we'll get to know for sure. But early signs are promising. New front wing seemed to do what we expected, and hopefully it will bring us more at tracks which have a wider range of slow corners. Why did George start the race on soft tyres? Probably a more compelling question is, why didn't they start on the same tyres? If soft was good for George, then why not for Lewis? Or medium for Lewis, why not for George? Why did we choose to split the strategy? We saw quite early on in the weekend a couple of things. First of all the tyres, once they get up to sort of racing temperature, all the tyres were quite similar in performance. The soft tyre, better at the beginning, but struggled a bit towards the end of its life, and the hard the opposite with some warm-up, and the medium in between. But all of them really quite similar to one another. So we were thinking if we could split our strategy, give soft tyre to one of our drivers and the medium tyre to the other, then that would improve our chances of a good result overall. We'd seen that our car had been pretty good on the soft tyre when we did our long runs on the Friday. And we felt with George being in front of Lewis on the grid, giving him the soft tyre would give him his best chance of jumping past someone at the start. And indeed that's what happened. George managed to leapfrog one of the Ferraris in the start. So good result there, and you know what we hoped for from the choice. Lewis, on the other hand, wouldn't make any sense him trying to jump his teammate because, you know, as a team we wouldn't actually gain anything overall from that, and instead choosing the medium tyre, which we also knew would be a very good strong race tyre, would give him his best chance of running long into the race in a race which we were fairly certain was going to be a nailed on one stop, and give him a chance to maybe run in some free air towards the sort of upper end of the strategy window. And in the end that played out beautifully for Lewis as well, because by being able to run long, he was still on the track when the safety car came out, and that played really nicely into his hands. So bit of a bummer for George to lose out under that safety car, but you know, them's the breaks. But overall, splitting the strategy just gave us our best chance, our best odds of having a good overall team result, and actually for each individual driver it made sense as well. Where does Silverstone rank in terms of my favourite tracks, and how good does it feel to see all those thousands of fans cheering us on? Well, I have to say I like all of the circuits that have huge crowds, where the crowds are real sort of racing aficionados and who look forward to that weekend for the whole of their year, and Silverstone is right up there like that. There are several others on the calendar as well that just the crowds fill the circuit and make the whole event light up. But Silverstone is right in the upper rank of that, and being British, of course, having that many people there waving the flag for us is a particular lift. It's a brilliant circuit too, one of the all-time classic F1 circuits. So it's a weekend all of us look forward to, not just for the jingoism, but because the crowd is so immense, is such a good racing track on top of that. What work did we do on Friday? What changes did we make overnight? And how did Mick help us working in the sim late into the night to help us prepare for the Saturday? Over the years, the overnight work that happens on a Friday night preparing for for Saturday, that has become more and more of an important factor in the rhythm of your race weekend. And this weekend was a particularly important one. We had seen on our Friday that we had a really good race car. We had good, consistent, strong pace from both drivers, and it looked like we were going to use our tyres well in the race stints on Sunday. So we knew that our setup was sort of there or thereabouts, and we wouldn't want to change it too much because you might sort of upset that delicate usage of the tyres that's key to getting a good race run. However, we also knew on Friday that our one lap pace was woeful. We were way down the timesheet, not with a bunch of excuses along with it, we were just slow. So our challenge overnight was how to find pace in a car for qualifying without actually really sort of mucking about with the fundamental setup of the car. And that's what they set to do on Friday night in our simulator. The engineers and Mick Schumacher working late into the night till 2 a.m. trying to figure out how to get the best preparation of the car to be in good shape for a qualifying lap, for that single push lap, without changing the fundamental setup. So only working on the sort of things you can change, the tyre pressures, the flap angles and so on, the things that you're allowed to change between qualifying and race, and therefore things that we can do without upsetting the fundamental setup of the car. Brilliant overnight work from that team, and the result being that our single lap qualifying type pace lifted right back up to being in the mix for a decent grid slot on the Saturday, which is what set up our ability to have a good race on Sunday. Why did the team feel that the soft tyre was the best choice for Lewis in that final stint of the race? Well, several other drivers, of course, chose the hard tyre, but Lewis elected the soft. Why did we do that? Well, we know that we could make the soft tyre run for a goodly number of laps and at a good pace. George had just shown us that with the car on full fuel from the beginning of the race, running at a decent pace with good tyre degradation and good performance. But more important than that, we know that Silverstone is a tough track to overtake at, a big, fast-flowing circuit, but the straights are actually not that long and the DRS effect not that big. So you don't get much of a chance to overtake there. You have to have a lot of performance in hand in order to make it stick. And we felt that our best opportunity of slipping past Norris with Lewis was going to be during the tyre warm-up phase, once the safety car goes in, and then everybody is trying to get up to full ramming speed as fast as possible. We knew Norris was going to take the hard tyre. Well, we didn't know, but we suspected. We knew that we could be good on a soft tyre. We knew that for a few precious laps, that would give us a decent performance margin over a very fast McLaren. And if we could press our attack home in those few laps before the hard tyre came up to temperature, then we might just nip by them, and thereafter we would have the pace to stay in front. So our soft tyre choice gave us our best opportunity to make that happen. And indeed, if you watch the restart off the back of the safety car, no DRS, and when the soft tyre was performing at its best, even without that DRS, we came incredibly close to making the overtake stick. In the end, we weren't quite quick enough to make it happen. In the end, Norris was able to just gradually eke away from Lewis after his tyres came into their window. But it was just a racing choice, our best opportunity, we felt, to get past a very racy McLaren on that day. Didn't pay off, but it was a lot of fun, and we nearly did it. The pack-chasing Red Bull of Aston Martin, Ferrari, us, and now McLaren is ever so tight. And is there any opportunity for the upgrade race to actually give us an opportunity to establish a lead in that very closely knit bunch? Well, simple answer is yes. We're only just around about halfway through the season, and there's still plenty more development to come in these cars. All of the teams will of course be turning their attention to next year, and that will sort of just defang all of us a little bit in terms of the rate at which we can improve our cars. But for each of us, and for us absolutely, there are improvements that we would like to make on the current car that we know will also carry into next year. So it doesn't feel like sort of throwing good money after bad. It feels like you're investing in both seasons with those upgrades. So for us, yes, you'll see the upgrades coming for a little while longer. I suspect for the others too. And what you will get in these next sequence of races is a little bit of yo-yoing for position in a very closely packed bunch, as upgrades sort of make the difference for one team for a while until someone else will come out of sequence with another upgrade a race or two later to sort of even things back up. And where it will all settle down for the final sort of quarter, 1/3 of a season, we'll see. Hopefully we'll have our noses in front and be able to have a strong second half of the season. Well, I guess all of the teams, as they upgrade, we keep an eye on them. We take loads and loads of photos and we try and figure out what changes from race to race. And we note when something new or unusual comes along. The interesting thing and unusual thing about the McLaren upgrade is its lap time effect is really quite strong. It's pretty unusual to have a step of that size of relative competitiveness in the middle of a season. And, you know, chapeau to them, they've done a really good piece of work there. But that is also makes it interesting for us because we have the before and after shots and we know the lap time effect was big. So well worth us paying more attention than we normally might to a team's or a competitor team's upgrades, because in this case we know that whatever changed has made a really meaningful difference to their lap time. So quite useful for us to know what that was and see whether it can play into our own thoughts about developing our own car.